Hi, it's Kim, and I want to tell you about how I found mealybugs on my Hoya carnosa. This is a plant that I have had for several years, and it blooms so well for me. I've had a great success on getting it to bloom, and my main backup for pests and insects and everything on my indoor plants is the bonide systemic insecticide. That's what I typically use. But this one has been a long time since I originally planted it, and I admit I have neglected it. I've not added a fresh coating of new soil on top with the systemic insecticide. So just in, I don't know, the inspections that you would do your plants every now and then to inspect them for insects. And as you can see, the way I handle my plant is by keeping it very, very dry. I think that's what stimulates its bloom. But in a morning a few weeks ago, I came in to inspect. Basically, you go around all the leaf tendrils, the stems, the petioles where it attached to the stem, and unfortunately, I did find mealybugs. They were right there under a leaf. Right there you see them. They just look like a tiny white fluff. And this isn't a really bad infestation. It could have been so much worse, but I needed to start right away to take care of this infestation on my Hoya carnosa because I would not want to lose this plant. It blooms all the time for me. It has been almost in continuous bloom for about 3 years at least. But that's what they look like. Just about the shape of your computer mouse, but white and fuzzy looking. And that means eggs. That means things underneath the soil surface possibly. Now my number one choice is alcohol. When I find the infestation like that on the leaf, half alcohol, half water. Be sure and test it on your plant to see if it's good and doesn't harm. And then also insecticidal soap. You can buy that ready-made from the store or Amazon. I have a link below for that. And also, you could make it yourself by using a mild soap like Murphy's Oil soap, baby shampoo, something like that. Put a teaspoon in a quart of water into a spray bottle, and that's how you can battle your mealybugs. So here we are in the midst of a treatment. I have just gotten my husband to help me so that I can turn the leaf and then he can spray because I can't hold the camera plus spray plus hold the leaf. It'd sure be nice if I had an extra set of arms, but you can see that there is a tiny little bug underneath that cotton fluff. Sometimes they're kind of pinkish looking, reddish looking, brown, but that's what they are. And the waxy coating that's on the outside of these insects can be dissolved by that alcohol. That's why it's one of my favorite things if I find an infestation. And again, it's my fault. I didn't refresh my systemic insecticide. That protects the plants by being right there in the roots and coming up through the inside of the plant, through its leaves and everything. Now this is one of my blossoms that has dried up and faded. The mealybugs do like to get in new growth. They will get in the blooms, so the blooms are something that you do have to watch for. Now you can see light areas that are on your plants, so you kind of need to up close inspect those to see if possibly that's a mealybug. Usually if you can give it a little spritz, rub your thumb over it. If it smears or gets removed, you know that was a mealybug. Now look at that light spot on one of the peduncles. That did not turn out to be a mealybug. I'm very, very grateful for that because it looks like I'm going to have another branch, and those peduncles will elongate out and make more flowers. So you do want to safeguard those and make sure the mealybugs don't attack those. A little hard to get a focus, but no fluff, just more growth, which I hope will end up being some more branches, some more flowers. All these little roots coming along, you can see the little bumps and everything, but that looks like a white infestation, like some of the mealybugs are clustered there. They kind of build a little tent of white cotton, white waxy cotton to protect themselves. So we just get our little nozzle up there, give it a good spritz, and that will dissolve and kill the mealybug. Now I'm rubbing my fingers over it, and it looks like it got the mealybug. Now, I don't know if those were the mealybug bodies there to brush off, but it could have been just dried up pieces of the flower peduncle. But meanwhile, when your plant is really big like this one is, my plant is like, I don't know, the vines are, say, 36, maybe 40 inches long, and they do need to be replanted soon. I've got to get this replanted because it is hitting the floor. And I've got it just about as high up, hanging on a hanging arm on the window. This is facing, let me see, a south window. So I think it gets just the right amount of light, maybe sometimes a little too much. In the winter, I think we'd borderline into a little too much. But it seems to grow well, so I'm not going to knock it. But I've ordered one of those hoop trellises, a bamboo hoop trellis, and I'm going to transplant it into a slightly bigger pot and have it a pot that I can just sit on a shelf instead of hang. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. I may try to film that if I can. But right now, we just need to try to get the mealybug infestation taken care of. Now, you don't want to get the mealybugs on the rest of your plants. I have a lot of plants in this plant room. I don't want to get everything else infested. So it's important to just keep going through. Basically, you spend a long time in your first treatment trying to get through every individual spot that you can find, every little mealybug that you can find, wipe, clean, get it off the plant itself. And that's pretty hard when you've got so many leaves on an individual plant, because this one probably has hundreds. If it's a smaller Hoya, it might be very easy within 15 minutes to just kind of run around and inspect front and back of the leaves and all the little joint areas and things. Now that's a peduncle. You can see that's bloomed many times. And we don't want anything to happen to that peduncle. So just as a safeguard, I'll just give it a little spritz. Sometimes between my fingers I can feel a little sensation of something there, but as long as it's squished and gone, that's all I care. Now be sure to check through any new growth. The mealybugs particularly like new growth. So be sure and check that out well. Make sure there's nothing around it. This one appears to have a little white area in that area that connects to the stem. So you'd want to pay particular attention to that to make sure you get that sprayed and get that treated. Now here I'm using some of the insecticidal soap where I can spray against it. This is just kind of, I don't know, it kind of has a sticky sensation that is also going to rinse the plants. Up there in the top, if you can squish in there and kind of clean up the debris, the mealybugs like debris. They want to hang out in that to protect themselves, so be sure and check the debris and get rid of that. Don't ever let the debris lay on your soil. That is an invitation for a lot of bugs. Those little long stems that are inside the flower, be sure and check each one of those, because those plants, the bugs do like to gather in that area too. Now you always have to be on guard for a reinfestation. So my advice would be, once you've inspected your plant, you've treated every mealybug that you can find, and also, in my case, added a dose on the top of your systemic, it's the bonide systemic insecticide. You mix that in the first few inches of your soil, kind of stir it around, and then as you water, that will distribute it naturally through the soil and roots of the plants, and then that could help treat the plant from the inside. But then you've got to faithfully, once a week, every 10 days, you've got to go through this same routine. Search and hunt through the leaves, looking for mealybugs, looking through all the little stems and leaf joints that you can see. Takes a lot of time and trouble, but if it's a plant that's important to you, it's important to try and go through and get every mealybug that you can find, and then, I don't know, set a notification on your phone. The following, for instance, Saturday, go in and do another full sweep of the plant with your alcohol spray, with your insecticidal soap. You can also use neem oil as a preventative. Now, in my case, my plant is right in the window, and I'm afraid the leaf will get a little bit too much sunshine, and neem oil in sunshine is kind of a no-no. So I hesitate to treat with neem oil, but I have sometimes sprayed some of the inner branches that are away from the window with neem oil. But the plant's looking pretty good. I have watered it thoroughly now. This is in one of its watered periods, so it's looking, pretty plump and full and less shrunken in most places. I can see that leaf looks a little withered right there, but that's just how I treat my plants, especially these succulent ones that hold water. I'm always afraid of overwatering them, so I err on the side of underwatering them. And that gets me the blooms, so I'm not going to knock it. I'll keep trying that way because that works for me. I've got new buds coming. You can see in the end of this peduncle, there's just barely the beginnings. You can see a new one trying to begin to bloom out of this one. And I've got several on there that are trying to bloom too. So as long as that, very dry spell and then watering spell works for me and keeps it blooming, I'm going to keep doing that. Yep, we've got more coming on that one too. Right there at the end, you just see a little bit of swollen area, and that just keeps getting longer and longer until you get the full spray, and then they open up. They look like little, shower heads when they open up. But the plant's looking very, very good. I'm pretty pleased with it. Every now and then in these few weeks, I run into one other one. So your best safeguard is to use the bonide systemic in the soil. That's what works for me in all of my indoor plants. It's not something I would use outside because it will hurt, and a lot of insects. So you certainly wouldn't want to use it outside. For instance, if you're going to put your Hoya outside in the summertime, that'll kill the beneficials, the honeybees, the butterflies. So don't use it outside. But indoors, when I'm doing my weekly inspections and find one of these little furry spots, then I definitely just attack right away with my alcohol or my insecticidal soap. Yeah, that spray was a little bit of overkill, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So there we go. I've got the little white fluffy cotton ball gone. So that little leaf spot looks clear. Now I think you're seeing a few of the sprinkles of my bonide as I was doing my treatment. I got a few sprinkles down on the plants. And yes, I do have some yellowing leaves on this one because there's just going to be leaf die out. That's for sure. Now there's another one right there. Look for those white fluffs. Get them before you have a complete stem that's turned white or a complete area that's all white. And that way you're treating them as they arrive and before they get onto other plants. And definitely I'm keeping an eye out on my other plants to be sure that this doesn't spread. But so far, I've been very, very lucky. And we seem, knock wood, to have conquered this invasion. But try the bonide if you think you'd like that. There's a link below to order some through one of my affiliate links from Amazon. The insecticidal soap, make your own or get a pre-made bottle. And the alcohol, just grab up an alcohol, just at the drugstore, 70%, 90%, anything that you can find. Dilute it if you want to. I have grabbed a bottle of undiluted and have not had any problem on this Hoya. And just to give it a quick spray when I see it, because if I am not where I've got the bottle sitting and I've just got my regular alcohol sitting there where I clean glass or clean faucets, I just spray it. And it's never hurt my plant. But test yours to be sure. Test any plant with something to be sure. And those are one of the blossoms that has dried up now, and the little peduncle will be ready for a new bloom. But I hope this helps someone else if you are fighting these or wonder what they look like and what you can do for them. They do lay lots of eggs, and then the tiny little things can run all over your plant, so you've got to get a handle of it early so that you can take care of it while the infestation is very, very small. So that's what I've done here. Knock wood, I think I have conquered it. Yeah, those little nubs are getting a little bit bigger. Sorry that gets out of focus, but they're getting bigger, and I'm looking for more blooms on a healthy Hoya plant.